Oh, it says I'm live. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to What's the Fluff? Thank you for showing up. I am excited to do today's topic. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to be talking. Well, no, actually, I'm going to lead you there. I want to make sure you can hear me. Okay, there we go. Okay, so pet loss grief. Pet loss is brutal. That grief is so hard for so many people. But there are so many people who it's even more hard for because it's about so much more than the grief. They also add in other things. They add in the second guessing. They add in the wondering, the worrying, the regret, the upset. They really pile in questions like, should I have waited? Should I have done more? Why didn't I do this? Did he know how much I loved him when he died? I wish I'd been there. And so that all adds to that pet loss journey. And then on top of that, there's something even harder, which is that you might be actually carrying a belief about your pet's passing that isn't even true. So that's going to add to your pet loss journey as well. So if you're here for a specific pet that you're currently grieving or about to grieve, what I find is I'm going to ask you to put in the comments, put their name in the comments. And the reason to do that is we're calling in their energy while you're watching this. It can make you feel closer to them. I'm making this video. Thank you guys for putting your names in. I love it. I'm making this video because so many people come to me all the time. They come to my courses. They come to my Be Open community. They come to my social media, and they are struggling. They're so struggling, and they're saying things like, I lost my pet 6 months ago and I don't understand. I am so heavy with this feeling. I can't get through it. I lost my pet a year ago, 10 years ago. And this is so hard for me. I can't get up in the morning. I'll never have another pet in my life. I have so much regret. And I think a lot of you are asking, when am I going to get through this? And when am I going to feel normal again? And when you ask that elsewhere, what happens? When you ask that in a non-safe space, like this is a safe space, or my Be Open community, or my courses are a safe space, what are you met with? You're met with, it's just a dog. It's just a cat. You're met with, it's been 6 months. And I think one of the hardest things that people get met with is actually when the support system turns to silence. Like, here you are, you're feeling sad, you're missing them so much, and your support system is just not answering anymore. For me, that brings up a sense of abandonment. I want support. I don't want silence. I want someone to give me a shoulder to put my head on. But that abandonment thing is really hard, and the silence is really hard. And after a while, some people just get fed up. Not us. We're in it. But the people who don't get it. So here's what I want you to know. I want you to know that you're not grieving too long. You're not grieving too short. You're not grieving wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You're not currently doing anything wrong. And the people who are making you feel like you should be through this by now, or it's too big because it's an animal, these people, they haven't been there. They just don't get it. They literally think they know, but they don't know. They don't know because they haven't been there yet. You see these videos on, like on YouTube. You see videos on YouTube about pet loss. And the videos that go viral are usually videos where somebody is sharing, hey, my dog died. And it was so hard for me. And this is the journey, and you see the person and they're crying and they're upset, and then you see them letting go of their animal, and that goes viral. And we're all familiar with that. And there's many videos out there, viral videos of that. They're getting like 1.5 million views. But there's a lot about the pet loss journey that isn't talked about, that goes beyond what's going viral. Like, I don't think people talk about what pet loss grief really is. They just don't bring it up. I've run into this with animal communication as well, that, this is a different thing from what a lot of people know or understand. And so this is this is to be kept quiet. But what I want to do today is talk about 5 things that nobody talks about around pet loss grief. And, I'll give you a quickie right now. One of them is that you might think the relationship is over, but it's not over. But so many people feel like the relationship is over. So we're going to talk about these 5 things. I'm going to look at what you're saying in the comments. And then I'm going to share with you the 5 things about the pet loss journey that nobody is talking about, that I've learned through my work as an animal communicator. Okay, so I'm going to put my glasses on and see what y'all are saying. Are you putting names up for me? Steffi, Champ, Buddy, Alvin, Mercy. Yeah. So this is a really cool thing about actually putting the names up. You're calling in their energy. You're calling them closer to you. So I really appreciate that you're doing that. Now, before I go into the 5 things, I want to say this. I am experimenting with all of these different ways of doing this weekly video. What do I want to do in it? How do I want to interact with you guys? How do I want to help you? And so that's why it's kind of like different every week, because I'm really figuring out, well, what is enjoyable? What do I feel passionate about in ways of helping you? And at the same time, what do you respond to and feel helped by? So that's that's a lot of what's going on here, and why it's a little different each week. Okay, so the first thing to know about pet loss grief, the pet loss journey, is that, and I've talked about this in other videos a little bit, it's not just the grief that's creating the journey. If we could just have the grief and the missing feeling, it would be amazing. But as humans, we're adding so much extra stuff in there, right? We're hiding our feelings because people don't understand. We're feeling weird because this isn't a human and people think it should be a human. We are adding in the second guessing and the regret and the guilt and all of that. And all of that actually takes this grief and weighs it down. Grief is a normal, natural process that we are privileged to experience because we loved so deeply. But we often aren't even able to experience the grief because all of the guilt is on top. And a lot of those people who are emailing or, showing up in my social media and they're saying, this is unbearable. I don't understand why I feel this way. I don't get it. It's because they're mixing other things in there. Imagine the freedom of letting go of any guilt around this, around your pet's passing, so that you could just be with their memory, so that you could call them in, so that you could enjoy them again. When we stop with the guilt, we actually hone in on the grief, and the grief allows for a bigger opening in that relationship. And I'll talk more about that. But the grief and the sadness, those are the natural pieces. And then the human parts we add in are all these other regrets, all these other pieces. So I feel like so many people don't understand the mix of what's going on inside them. And that's where they end up getting stuck and emailing or showing up in a live webinar and saying, I don't understand why I feel this way. What is going on? It's because they're letting it overcome them. They're letting all that other stuff push their grief down. We want that grief. That grief is part of the process of love with our pet. And we will eventually move this into a grief that functions a different way. But when it's weighed down with all those other things, which is usually what's going on when you're saying to me, I don't understand, we're unable to move on that journey. Now I'm going to see what you guys are saying. I couldn't share how I felt with my family and friends because after 6 months, they seemed fed up hearing from me. And I'm so grateful for groups like this. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Okay. The next thing that I feel like nobody really talks about or acknowledges. So the person that I'm so sorry I didn't read their name. You may be feeling like you're broken because you feel the grief. And that grief is something that you should be able to turn off or change or be able to move through or do the stuff and have the steps and get through, all of that. And it does not work like that. I feel like a disservice was done when grief for humans was distilled down to the 5 stages of grief or whatever. Everybody grieves differently. You may take longer. You may take shorter. You may not feel anything for a while, and it may show up 3 years later. None of it means you're broken. None of it means that you should be having different sadness or experiencing that sadness and that grief differently. You're going to grieve as long as you're going to grieve, and there's no end point on that. I still have grief for my dogs that passed in 2014. I still have grief for my dog that passed in 1998. I still have grief for my dog that passed in 2001. Like, I still, when I go there, feel it. And it's not because I'm broken. It's because it's part of the love that I felt for them now. And it's gotten kind of bound up and packaged with that love as I've moved through my journey. So no, you are not broken for still feeling this way or for feeling this way at all. I remember one time somebody said to me, literally, you're still upset about your dog? It's been a year. So that person's not in my life anymore. Now, if you want more content like this, you can always subscribe. It is the best way to know when I'm going live, as I am kind of jumping around a little bit to figure out what works. How do I want to do this? What do I love and what do you love? So subscribing is the best way. Okay, so the next piece. Now, this is something that I've addressed in videos, but I don't think I've addressed it as clearly as I'm about to address it. So yes, you're grieving your pet. You love your pet. You're deep in grief. Grief lowers the vibration. Yes. And our pet's vibration is higher because they're on the other side. They have mastered unconditional love. Like, their vibration is naturally higher. It is so much easier for us to receive signs from our pets on the other side when our vibration is higher, when we're at a certain place in our grief because our vibration is higher. But you can still receive signs from your pet on the other side, even when you're grieving. And you are still having signs sent to you when you're deeply grieving. It's not that your pet isn't sending signs. It's that the grief sometimes becomes the full focus and you don't notice the signs. So it's easier to notice the signs when the grief eases. But this is very different, right? I'm not saying your pet isn't sending signs. I'm saying the grief can sometimes make it a little harder to receive the signs that they're sending. Really important, because I feel like people get all caught up in, I need to clear through this grief. I need to get through it. So I'm out on the other side and I'm normal. And once I'm normal, I'll be able to get all those signs. And it doesn't work that way. And you're actually never going to be normal again. You're going to come to your new normal. That's just how it works. You're finding a new normal. And I don't think people talk about that very much either. You will never go back to how you were, but you can grow from this grieving process. Okay. Now, I am an animal communicator. I've been doing this a long time. I'm just going to share it. And maybe some people are going to be upset with me about this, but for a lot of people, pet loss grief feels harder than human loss grief. And, it all depends on the person. I'm not saying this is a blanket statement, but who here feels like losing your pet was harder than losing a human? It is that way for a lot of us. And I see someone go, yes. And the thing about that is, one of the main reasons for that is we don't talk about it. We don't have places where it's okay. So many people put, yeah, that's a lot of yeses in the comments. So many people put animals at a lower level than humans. And yes, as humans, we could do more in the physical world, etc., but we haven't mastered unconditional love. So that pet loss grief, it's almost like you have nowhere to put it, no one to understand. You feel more alone. Again, that abandonment feeling can come up. You just don't get the support because people are basically saying, it's not a human. What's up? I mean, that's why I created like my Be Open community, because actually most people come there from here and they go there because they want a safe place to just let it all hang out and to continue explore their pet loss grief journey, but also explore what's going on inside them and actually grow from their pet loss. But you have to find a place where it's acceptable to grieve as much as you're grieving. And who cares if it's more than a human that you grieved for, right? Who cares? All that matters is this is your journey right now. So much of what I'm talking about here is about you accepting that this is your journey and understanding the nuances within it so that it's easier for you to have this pet loss journey. I'm still seeing a ton of yeses, so that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. The other, and I kind of alluded to this a moment ago, and this is not a well-known thing, but in my world, it's something that I see all the time. And it's really very cool and very exciting to me. And I know we're talking about pet loss grief here. And yet, this is the coolest thing. So often, an animal passing wakes up in us a desire for more, a desire to understand the world differently. It wakes up our desire to reconnect with them from the other side. It wakes up our intuition. I cannot tell you how many of my students in my animal communication classes took my class because their pet who passed kept nudging them in that direction. Because what does it do? It allows them to actually start reconnecting with their pet who passed without needing a me, without needing a practitioner, an animal communicator, but they can be the animal communicator for themselves. It's very empowering. And I cannot tell you how many people have had an animal pass and they show up in my courses or my Be Open community or here, and they actually say, I didn't believe in any of this stuff until my pet passed. And it created an opening in my heart, an opening in my heart. And now I'm exploring that opening, and then they kind of go down a different path. They figure some stuff out. They learn, they grow, they expand. Our animals on the other side, they want us to continue to grow and open. And so many of them are using their passing as a way to help us do that. It's the catalyst. Now, I have another video called How to Help Your Pet Grieve, which may be helpful, especially if you're deep in that grieving process. You may have a pet who's grieving as well. So I'll be sure to link to that. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys if you have questions about this, about things that you don't understand about the pet loss grieving journey, about the path, about how it's working. I'm going to ask you guys to share about that, and let's just take your questions now. All right. Here we go. Aw, Winterberry Time says, to all here who love their pets as I did, I love you all. Pet parents are special. Yeah. Okay, so what you guys are doing is you are all talking about how much you love your pet. Yeah. Okay. All right. Then Paul Freed says, are they waiting for us in the afterlife? Yes, they're waiting for us in the afterlife. And that's one of the things that I think learning animal communication can do, is it can open you up to actually be able to connect with them in the afterlife and ask them directly. Like everything that I learned because I actually asked them through animal communication. I don't like to teach things that I learned from another person about animals, because I feel like the animals know more about themselves than we do. So that was a good question. Paul Freed says, yes, cool. Yeah. All right. Any other questions you all have about this? Do you feel that your past baby will send you another baby? Yep. That's a great question. And yeah, what I have found is it's kind of fun. I can do like an animal communication reading, and the animal that is crossed over will actually describe who's coming next. It's really a cool thing when you realize the network that's going on behind the scenes that we can't tap into consciously, of how everything is orchestrated to help us grow and evolve and bring the next one in and keep working on our soul lessons. Is pretty cool. What's a good response? Hold on. What is a good response to have to the people who have the reaction of, it's been going on long enough, why you're still grieving? A good reaction would be, because I'm still grieving. You literally don't have to defend your grief. And if somebody is putting you in the position of needing to defend your grief, they're not the person for you at this time. And maybe there's somebody that you spend a little less time with. And on your side, you need to protect your heart. So you've got to make sure that you find people who will not say that. Like my Be Open community, I keep talking about it, but like find people who do the same, who believe the same as you do, or who empathize and don't even have to get it, but they get it. Because there are also people like that. Okay. What are some ways I can continue to have a relationship with her? Okay, so I'll give you the one way, which is that what you can do is you can actually have conversations with her. So what you do is you sit on your bed, you sit in a chair, you sit in a place that was special to the two of you, and you think about her through good memories. This calls her energy to you, or her spirit, if you want to call it that, to you. And then have a conversation as if she's having the conversation with you. So if I'm connecting to my dog, Bella, I'm asking Bella questions, or I'm sharing with her about my day, but I'm leaving empty space in the conversation for Bella to respond. Does that mean Bella's going to respond in my ear? Not necessarily, and actually usually not. But Bella will do what she can through whatever methods, and I have plenty of videos on that, to get a message through to you, to get a response through to you. It could be a bark in the background. It could be the lights flickering. It could be another dog popping up in through the window. Like there's so many different ways that they can respond that aren't just the back and forth, but you have to leave space. And I think that's another thing that people kind of get mixed up in their grief and in their pet loss journey, is I talk to them all the time. I say, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to the store, and da-da-da, and I say, I miss you. But you forget, you have to leave space for them to respond, even though that feels weird. You got to leave that space. They will take that space. Doesn't mean they're going to respond to every single thing. No. But they do need space to be able to respond. So I hope that helps. Are they disappointed in us if we are still having a hard time with everything since they passed 3 years ago? Oh, I feel like I'm continually letting him down. I am trying, Tracy. I can feel. I can feel. I have to make sure I don't get weepy. No, they're not disappointed. There's no. So if we go back to what I've been talking about here, there's no expiration date on grief. There's no right or wrong way. There's no timeline. There's none of that. And on the other side, they just want to help us grow and evolve. They just want to help us become more conscious. So I do see in you, Tracy, that there's a whole regret thing going on as well. And I talk about this in other videos, but we've got your guilt, your grief, and then we've got the regret piled on top of it. So I would ask you to spend some time feeling the grief, the sadness, and the missing, and notice if those other feelings are coming up, and kind of be like, oh, we're not going to do those feelings right now. Let me be with the grief feelings right now. And this is not to make you move faster on your journey or anything like that. It's to allow you to be where you are right now without this other regret, guilt. Oh, and you described guilt without that getting in the way, because it's not allowing you to access the real feelings that you're having. It's almost coming up as a distraction. I'm letting you down. I need to, all of that. That's like a distraction to, I'm sad and I just really miss you. And if you go back to what I was saying to the other person about spending some time leaving space for the answer and not fearing that the answer is going to be something bad or punishment or rejection or something like that. They don't speak like that from the other side. They're all about love, and they're all about helping you re-access the love you felt when they were alive. Okay. These are a lot of questions here. And I like that you guys are sticking with the questions about what we're talking about today, about the grief. We finished all the numbers. We finished all the numbers. I just didn't count them out loud. So, Danielle, you need to come on Terry holding your space. She works with animals. You would be an amazing show. I don't know what that is, but cool. Thank you, Paul. Okay. All right, I'm going to just see if there's another question that feels right. My pets touched my soul and are a part of me. The humans I lost touched my heart. Huge difference. That's why I think I grieve far more losing one of my pets. Still miss my dad, but losing one of my pets. Yeah, the grief is as big as it is because they gave us unconditional love. And humans have a really hard time doing that. Okay. Thank you all very much. I would love if you'd let me know what you think of this format, because that's important to me. I want to figure out, what do we like, right? What's fun? I don't want to do readings here. I tried it and it felt like I disappointed people because there was no way I could do all those readings. I just couldn't. I do them in my Be Open community, and that works way better because it's a community and I get to do it every month, and it works better there. It's more intimate. And so, but I am interested to know what works for you. What do you like? What do you want? So feel free to say that stuff in the comments here. And yeah, thank you all. Bye-bye.